Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Esberk VA here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 10 of What If Deku Had a Regen Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Midoriya looked up and met the eyes of the hero killer, cold and unflinching. The freckled teen gripped onto the blade that had penetrated his chest, digging his fingers into the sharp edges to try and remove it. The blood made his grip slip. He tried to ask why, but all that came out was a wet cough of blood. The blade was quickly removed from his chest and Midoriya fell onto his back. Stain stood above him, and then he drove his weapon between Midoriya's eyes and into his skull. Midoriya felt his eyes open groggily as he found himself in an alleyway. Everything around him was bright yet hazy like a dream. Midoriya blinked hard to try and clear his eyes, but the slight, blurry filter over the city was still present.
Am I lucid dreaming?
He mumbled. Midoriya stood up and saw the stab wound in his chest not closing up. He sighed and wandered onto the sidewalk. It was the same city that he always saw in his dreams, but this time, he wasn't able to use any of the abilities he usually had. Midoriya was able to connect this fact to the personal development he's made with his relationship with his quirk. Stain taught him to appreciate his quirk more since it's an extension of himself. He's learned his lesson about biting off more than he could chew. Midoriya continued walking along the street and saw various pictures of his face plastered across billboards with the message, "Number 1 Hero, Ultimatum." Midoriya mumbled to himself.
What the?
Suddenly, screams approached. Crowds of civilians crowded around him, and he felt the weight of their bodies start to suffocate him. He was confused and tired and felt himself being overpowered by the horde. He shoved his way out from the crowd and started to run. The city was filled with people, but once he turned a corner, there was no one in sight. He looked behind him, and the once busy streets were now empty. Midoriya wandered aimlessly until a poster of himself smacked him in the face. It was an advertisement for a hero agency. His hero agency. He arrived at the address posted, and it was a tall skyscraper with the words, "Ultimatum Hero Agency," attached at the top. He entered the building, and it was completely barren. A ding rang out from the elevator, and its doors opened on their own. Midoriya entered the elevator, and the floor numbers started to tick higher and higher until they stopped at the, top floor. When the doors opened, it revealed a large office space decorated with various hero knickknacks. Midoriya gasped as he saw a shelf stuffed with figures of his classmates, but they all looked much older, and some had altered hero costumes. Directly across from him was a desk, and behind that desk was a man, in a chair, turned the other way, looking out at the city. Midoriya approached the desk, and the man spun around to face him. It was himself. Trippy. Midoriya had always flown by this building whenever he dreamt, but he didn't know that he would find himself inside. This version of himself was taller, physically more mature. His hero costume was also different. He had a mask over his eyes and mouth, with the All Might hood removed. The once long, off-white arm braces were now also removed, leaving the jumpsuit sleeves. The man spoke casually.
I was wondering when you'd stop by. Stain probably just killed you, right? That's when I came here too. Wait, killed? I'm dead?
Midoriya panicked. The older man laughed.
Yeah, that's how I reacted too.
There was an exasperated look on Midoriya's face as he continued to freak out.
I'm actually dead. Like my life is over. Like I can't go back anymore. I can't be dead. I have so much left to do. I didn't get to say goodbye. I don't.
Midoriya started to hyperventilate as he clutched the clothing over his chest. For the first time, Midoriya noticed how cold he felt. It was like ice water flowed under his skin. He placed his hand flat over his chest. No beat. The world around him began to spin. The feeling of warm hands against his back, however, brought him out of his spiraling. That's right, if he's dead right now, then he wouldn't be able to produce any sort of conscious thought. Plus, there was another version of himself with him, so maybe there was a bit more that he was, missing. Other than his marbles. Midoriya took a breath to try and calm himself as he asked,
"What? Where are we?"
The man responded,
We're in a space where all unconscious or dead versions of ourselves exist. Think of it like our personal afterlife.
Midoriya then asked,
Then who are you? I mean, what version of me are you?
He replied,
The version of you whose body is being preserved at the Hero Association right now. Let's just say I'm not needed nowadays.
Midoriya began bombarding his older self with questions left and right, but he refused to answer any of them.
You're gonna hate this, but I can't just outright tell you that, 'cause that defeats the purpose of self-discovery, character development, and all that jazz. Plus, I'm not one to spoil the ending of stories or anything, but what I can give you is some hints to help you out later.
Older Midoriya handed his younger self a book. It was titled Quirk Singularity Doomsday Theory, and the publication date was scratched out. Younger Midoriya opened the book to the bookmarked page and read out the highlighted passage.
The theory presented by Dr. Garaki reads as follows. As the generations pass, quirks evolve and grow stronger. Eventually, quirks may become too powerful for the human body to control as it surpasses the rate of evolution. This will lead to humanity no longer being able to control their quirks, leading to a societal doomsday. Evidence to support this theory is when Redacted sprouted hundreds of fingers from their left hand during a spontaneous mutation of their redacted quirk. Okay, this is the equivalent of a quirk being grown like hair or fingernails, singling humanity's adaptability with quirks.
Midoriya closed the book and was more confused than he was previously.
I don't get it. What does this have to do with anything?
Older Midoriya chuckled and said,
You'll find out in a couple of months.
He continued to explain.
When a quirk reaches singularity, the quirk holder becomes a living embodiment of their quirk. If Endeavor were to reach singularity, he'd be a living flame. If Katsuki reached singularity, he'd become sentient explosions, however that would work. Now if Regeneration were to reach the singularity, what do you think would happen?
Midoriya took a moment to think before answering.
Immortality?
When his older self shook his head, Midoriya became frustrated.
If you're not going to tell me anything, then why am I even here?
Older Midoriya explained.
I'm here to do what my future self did for me. Give you some guidance and help you get back. Okay. Then how do I go back? You should already know how. You did it back at the UA entrance exam.
Midoriya's jaw dropped.
Wait, when my legs got chopped off, I died? That makes sense. Well, your body shut down and went into self-preservation mode, so not quite dead. Only mostly dead, but right now, yeah, you're 100% dead. The process of coming back is about the same, though.
Older Midoriya began to become more and more transparent as he spoke.
Oh, you're doing it right now, he exclaimed. If you ever need me, you know where to find me.
Midoriya exclaimed,
Wait! I have more questions!
It was too late, as his older self was now completely gone. As if he never existed. And yet he did. Trippy. Midoriya had no idea what to do or where to start, but as the floor beneath him began to shake lightly, he knew that he was starting to wake up. With a deep breath, Midoriya felt himself begin to become lighter. The setting around him crumbled apart dramatically as he began to float weightlessly. A light appeared above him, and he began to ascend towards it, like a magnet. The light was blinding, but then he jolted up with a loud gasp as his eyes adjusted to the darkness of the apartment. He was alive. Alright, now, just to quickly interrupt today's video to let you all know that our merch store has received an update. Finally, at last, we have released our 70k merch. If you're interested in picking up some high-quality merch, the link will be in the top line of the description. I recommend hurrying, though some items are limited and will only be available for a limited time. These items are also signed by James Seifer. Link in the description below. And thank you all for 70,000 subscribers. Now, let's get back to the video! Midoriya took in a breath as he felt the warmth of life pump through his veins.
I'm immortal.
Midoriya laughed in relief as he hugged himself.
Took you long enough. I was starting to think I actually killed you.
Stain looked completely unfazed at the fact that Midoriya had just resurrected himself. Suddenly, Midoriya's relief turned to anger.
You did kill me!
Midoriya yelled in bewilderment. The hero killer looked unimpressed. Well, you look pretty alive to me.
How did you even know I could do that?
Stain shrugged his shoulders.
I know a thing or two about blood-related quirks. How do you think I figured out the blood I ingest paralyzes people? It was just a hunch.
Midoriya looked down at his chest and saw that the injury was already healed. He touched his forehead and felt no stab wound there either. With an annoyed sigh, Midoriya asked,
Was that the potential you were talking about? Partial immortality? By the look on your face, I'm sure you know that it's more than that.
Stain reached out his hand and helped Midoriya up when he stood up. Midoriya looked at the clock across the room. He had been dead for about 20 minutes. Perhaps if he kept practicing his resurrection power, then he could shorten the time down. His eyes wandered from the clock to a mirror. His entire face was drenched in blood, and it stuck to his face uncomfortably. It appeared that Stain had stabbed his skull multiple times to make sure he was actually dead.
This guy is legitimately crazy. I should have figured that out sooner,
Midoriya thought to himself. The police radio scanner on the table in the apartment suddenly turned on as various codes and requests for backup blared out. Static made the audio hard to make out, but Midoriya was able to make out the words Nomus, Hosu, and Heroes. Midoriya tensed. There were Nomus on the loose in this city? One Nomu was almost enough to take down All Might, but now there were multiple of them? Before Midoriya could think about it any longer, a winged Nomu crashed through the wall of the apartment. Midoriya and Stain both drew their weapons as the Nomu thrashed about, destroying more parts of the apartment before flying back out into the city. In the distance, the flame hero Endeavor delivered a fiery punch to the creature. Stain spoke in a low and vengeful voice.
Hey, how about we get some real-world experience?
Midoriya wasn't sure if he was referring to the Nomu or the heroes, but he still nodded in agreement. The pair traveled across the rooftops, watching chaos break out across the city. Flames from explosions and Endeavor scattered across the streets, with the lower-ranking heroes attempting to guide civilians to safety. Stain visibly scowled as his eyes scanned the various heroes doing performance activism in front of the cameras. One hero in particular caught his attention, the hero Native. He wasn't a very well-known hero, but there were rumors about him throwing other heroes under the bus to make himself look better. Stain stopped abruptly, causing Midoriya to run into him. Silently, Stain pointed at Native, and the hand signals he used indicated that he wanted Midoriya to help him sneak attack the hero. Midoriya suddenly felt the gravity of the situation on his shoulders. He had been training with the hero killer for a whole week. And Midoriya hadn't truly processed it, but now he was definitely realized he wholeheartedly messed up. Big time. You done messed up, Midoriya. The guy just killed him almost an hour ago. Although Stain's mortal somewhat aligned with Midoriya's, the killer's way of carrying out justice was skewed in a way that made him nauseous. Midoriya whisper-shouted in anger.
There's no way I'm not going to murder someone, no matter how corrupt they are.
Stain simply scoffed as he hopped off of the roof. Midoriya followed, his landing cushioned by his leg braces. He chased after Stain, but lost him amidst the chaos of civilians scattering. He dodged and weaved through the crowd and hopped over police barricades. Midoriya was forced to stop, however, as the body of a frozen Nomu flew past him. He turned his head to see where the attack came from, and he exclaimed,
Todoroki!
Midoriya? Todoroki moved toward Midoriya and stared at his blood-covered face and decimated hero's costume. He opened his mouth to comment about it, but decided against it, as he instead said, If you're here, then where's Mirako?
I lost her. I'm actually looking for her right now.
Midoriya lied through his teeth. He didn't have time to idly stand by and chit-chat. He was about to run off, but he had a gut feeling that stopped him in his tracks.
Todoroki, can you, follow me? I have a feeling that something really bad is going to happen.
Todoroki gave him a confused look. Midoriya, bad things are happening. We're being attacked by Nomus, and the city's on fire.
That's not what I meant. Ugh.
Midoriya sighed sharply.
Just please come with me. I need your help.
Todoroki agreed, and he followed Midoriya without further question. The teens ran through the side streets, eyes looking for any sign of the danger Midoriya warned about when they found what they were looking for. It was too late. Someone else had found the hero killer. Time seemed to freeze as Midoriya processed what he saw. The hero native was lying unconscious, and possibly dead, against the alleyway's wall. Stain stood with his katana embedded into the back of one of his closest friends. Midoriya and Todoroki cried out simultaneously, "Ida!" Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. And lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.